Well, thanks for tuning in to S&M Radio. I am Shannon. Joining me is Mark.
Good evening.
So this episode, we are taking a crack at something a little bit different that we haven't done in the past, and we are going to kind of incorporate one of those top 10 type lists into the show. And seeing as how October marks the year anniversary that me and Mark have been doing this show together, and we kicked everything off last year with the brilliant idea of, hey, let's go ahead and talk about all of the Halloween movies, and we're both like, yeah, it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, I think we missed a few things.
So, it's not the best episode. I wouldn't say it was the worst podcast ever. It might be the worst S&M podcast. I'm not sure. But it's about 2 hours of us babbling of a lot of stuff. I think most of it was us talking about the first two, and then we kind of were like, oh, crap, we got to get the rest of them in. And so we just kind of...
Yeah, it took a while till we kind of got... It's all kind of a big jumble, a mix of this, that, and the other thing.
In honor of our anniversary, the two of us together, and we're going to be doing our top picks of Halloween scenes or moments, I guess, whatever you guys want to call them. So I picked 5. Mark picked 5. Hopefully it's not a jumbled 2-hour mess like it was last time.
No, there's no way it could be that bad.
I really kind of struggled going through and trying to pick out 5 scenes, and really it wasn't that I didn't have 5 scenes that didn't pop into my head immediately when we started talking about this. It was, ooh, I love that scene. I love that scene. Oh, that scene's awesome. That scene's great. That scene's awesome. So there was a lot of that. So then we decided, okay, so if we don't lay down some ground rules, we're going to end up talking about the top 10 scenes from every movie. So we said that we could only pick one scene each from one movie, which was a little bit trickier. So it turns out that my scenes that I picked, all except for one, kind of have a little bit of a similarity to them. And I'm going to go in chronological order, so I'm going to start at the beginning and work my way up through the series. But my very first favorite Halloween scene is the ending of the 1978 original Halloween. Again, for those of you that might not be familiar with the show, we do tend to give spoiler alerts. Or I should say spoilers. So spoiler alert, especially since I said my favorite scene is the ending of the movie.
But then again, if you don't know the ending of Halloween, then you probably need to go watch that before you even start digging around for podcasts.
True. Those of you that don't remember what it is, and I would assume that most of you guys that are listening to this movie, you probably have some sort of regimen where you're going to be listening, or I shouldn't say listening, where you're going to be watching at least one of the Halloween movies at some point in the month of October, if you haven't already started that. So the end of the movie kind of starts off with, Laurie's in the house. I won't go through the whole story or the whole movie, but she has Tommy and Lindsay there with her. She had just killed the boogeyman, but we come to soon find out that actually, Michael Myers is not dead. But he starts chasing after her. She tells the kids to go ahead and hide and lock themselves up in the bathroom. Laurie's trying to get away. She gets into this closet with these French doors. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the original movie, with that closet door. One of the things that happens is Michael crashes through the closet door, and Laurie yanks a hanger down off of the clothes bar, twists it, and essentially makes it into a little spear and jabs it into his eyeball. And then she ends up stabbing him with his own knife. And then again, this is one of those scenes in the movie where Michael collapses and Laurie gets away. And then all of a sudden, I just stabbed the boogeyman. We're all calm and peaceful now. But then again, he pops back up. And then lo and behold, Loomis pops into the room and ends up shooting Michael 6 times, and Michael stumbles off and falls off the balcony into the yard. Then a couple of seconds go by, and Loomis walks over to the window, looks out the window, and Michael is nowhere to be found. And that's kind of the end of the movie. And the thing that I really love about that is when you watch that, if you're not familiar with the rest of the story after that, it kind of gives you this like uncalming sense that, oh, is he gone? Did he stumble off and die? Or is he coming back? And then the movie ends. And that's kind of what Carpenter had originally intended for, which I always thought was great. And then if you watch the opening to the second movie, turns out they reshot the whole thing, and that's not how it ended in the start of the first or the start of the second movie. But that's my first favorite scene, is the ending to the original.
That is a great scene. Yeah, and that's where it probably should have ended. I mean, some of the sequels are okay and all that, but when you think about it, that really was the kind of that should have been it. He should have been gone and in Haddonfield, and that would have been it. But of course, Hollywood wanted to make more money, so they kept it going.
The great Mustafa.
Yes, he kept going. He was quite the businessman. Okay, so we're going from our favorite to our least favorite.
Well, you can go that way. I'm going chronological, but
okay. Well, I'll reverse it for me. I'm gonna go with my least. Well, like my number 5.
Okay.
And then I'll go down to. It'll go from for me. It'll go from 5 to 1, and then 1 will be my absolute favorite. So for me, I'm going to go with number 5 is it's going to be in Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Ooh.
And it's going to be the scene where it's during the end of the movie and Michael Myers is chasing Laurie, and it's the scene they get out of the house and she falls into the dried up outdoor in-ground pool. And there's all these dried up fall leaves and everything. And she's stuck in the pool, and he's kind of like stalking around the rim of the pool, like looking down at her. But I thought that pool scene was really, really cool. And the way his mask looked when he's like kind of looking down at her and she's stuck in the pool, I thought that was a really good shot. And although it's kind of a brief scene, to me that just, I don't know, that was a really cool scene. He looked a lot like he did in the original Halloween, the way the mask looked in the lighting. So that would be my number 5, the Michael Myers stalking Laurie around the pool in Rob Zombie's Halloween.
So my next one is another ending of a movie, and I'm jumping a couple of them. So I started off with Halloween from 1978, and then I'm jumping to Halloween 4. So now Halloween 4 holds a special place in my heart. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Halloween movie, but it is one of my favorites for a few reasons. And one of those would be the actress who plays young Jamie Lloyd in the movie.
Well, there you go.
And my favorite scene from that movie is, again, the ending of the movie, which does entail or involve Jamie Lloyd. Also, the other character from the movie that it does involve is Rachel, who is the older, stepsister, I guess you would say, of Jamie. But it's kind of like goes back to your scene from Rob Zombie's Halloween, and it's pretty quick. So there's all this stuff that happened in the movie, and the final scene of the movie is Jamie and Rachel finally got back home, and then a couple of the other characters from the movie arrived there as well, to the parents essentially to kind of help console their kids. The mother goes upstairs to help Jamie get a bath. Then Jamie puts a clown mask on, very reminiscent to the very first Halloween movie. Stabs her mother with a pair of scissors, and the end of the movie ends up with Jamie standing with this clown mask on at the top of the stairs, kind of holding the scissors. Dr. Loomis is at the bottom of the stairs, just kind of screaming in terror at everybody else that's in the house.
Oh yeah, yep. That was kind of like reminiscent of the original movie. They did the whole first person camera scene too, with when the mask kind of put over the lens.
Right, and this scene, along with the end of the first movie, led you to believe that, oh, cool. So, I mean, at this point, we knew there was going to be another one. You know, that came out in 88, I believe, 89.
Yeah, so 88.
So at that point, you know, I mean, this was well into the 80s, and anytime there was a horror movie that came out, I mean, it was pretty much a given that unless there was complete failure, there was going to be another horror movie following it up, or another sequel. So this really led you to believe that, oh, cool, so they're actually going to take this route of Jamie's going to become the killer. But then, of course, in true Mustafa fashion, the next movie comes around and, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, it kind of changed a little bit. It would have been kind of a cool idea, too, had they have done that. Kind of where Michael's spirit or whatever affected him, entered her, and then she became the next Halloween killer. But no, it didn't quite work out that way. My next one going down, I'm going to go, my number 4 is from H2O. And it was actually the scene at the very end of the movie. And, oh yeah. Yeah, it was when Michael is pinned between the van and the log or whatever. He's pinned, he can't get out, and he's trapped, and it's a very interesting scene if you watch it, because there's Jamie Lee Curtis, who, you know, is his sister, according to the film, and she's like looking at him, and he's kind of, it's probably one of the more human scenes we ever see with Michael Myers, and he's kind of like grabbing his head and kind of realizing that he's pinned, he can't do anything, and he reaches out for help, which is a very strange thing for this killer to do, because he's been, you know, pretty much the villain of all these films, and here he is in a place where he's helpless, and he reaches out for help, and Laurie, you know, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, she's debating, oh, should I help him? He's my brother. And then, nope, she doesn't. She grabs the axe, and then she just slices his head off. And it was like, to me, it's like the perfect ending of the series to some degree. You know, I mean, it's like the way I see the series I really like to say that Halloween is really the only movie. Like the original Halloween, that's it. It's standalone, that's it. But if I'm going to look at the series, at least the original series, I kind of see it as a trilogy. And in my view, it's Halloween, Halloween 2, and then H2O. And as that trilogy, because H2O kind of cut out 4 or 5, well, obviously 3, but then 4, 5, 6, and then 8, Halloween Resurrection, we won't even bring up. But as a trilogy, it's kind of a cool ending, because it kind of just, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis is back, and then, you know, she kind of finishes him off, and that was it. So I would say that scene probably was one of those scenes I remember walking out of the theater when I saw that and saying, yeah, okay, cool. They finished it. How on earth will they ever bring this back? It was a really cool, like, yeah, there's no way this can be. But of course, they did.
Oh, Mustafa.
He knows how to make his money.
So my next favorite scene is another ending to a movie, and this is the ending to Halloween 5.
Ah, okay.
Which was sort of like the first two, was kind of a sort of supposed to be like a direct sequel from number 4, even though if I remember correctly, I haven't watched it for a little bit, but if I remember correctly, it jumps ahead like a year from the events of the Halloween 4. where again, we had Jamie donning the clown mask at the end of Halloween 4, and then jump forward a year, and she's like in this institution. She hasn't talked in all this time, and blah, blah, blah. We end up in the old Myers house. Donald Pleasance is back, and they had kind of set up this using the police, and Jamie Lloyd is having these weird visions throughout this movie because she's somehow like mentally connected with Michael, which was kind of odd. And anyway, Michael, comes to the Myers house, ends up killing some cops. He's in the house, and this is one of these weird times throughout these later on in the series where Loomis still thinks he can reason with Michael, so he's trying to talk to him.
Yeah, he should have learned his lesson about that at that point.
And then, Jamie manages to escape from the house, and then she ends up like in this weird like laundry chute at some other building. Or was it in the basement? But anyway, she's like in this laundry chute.
Wow.
And Michael finds her in the chute, and he's trying to get her out of the chute and ends up like stabbing the chute a bunch of times. And if I remember right, I heard one time, I think it was this movie where Danielle Harris actually ended up getting a cut during that scene, but they didn't stop shooting. They kept going through with it. But anyway, a bunch of stuff happens at the end of this movie. But one of the things with the Halloween movies is at the end of the movies, you're led to believe that you're going to get some answers in the next movie. And one of the things was this weird guy in black like made this appearance. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but he had this like tattoo on his wrist.
Oh, yeah. The thorn.
Right. And I mean, they didn't explain what it was in that movie. And you were like, oh, what's this guy going to be? And he ends up killing a bunch of people, causes this big explosion. And Jamie's like there throughout this whole thing, ends up kind of fighting her way through all of these bodies of dead police officers, tries to find Michael. Lo and behold, Michael's gone. And the movie ends with like Jamie like, no! But again,
oh yeah,
we're led, this was kind of like the ending with part 4. When the next movie came out, we were kind of disappointed again.
Yeah, that was a strange ending. I mean, there was Michael Myers sitting there with his mask on in the jail cell. That always kind of was weird.
Yeah, it was, but I always thought that it was going to be kind of cool because it's all of a sudden this weird guy, Man in Black, comes out, and then
right.
We were going to get some weird explanation. And to kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent on that, so when Halloween 6 came out, whenever it was, it was probably
95
years after this.
Yeah, 95, I think.
Yeah, so it was like 5 or 6 years later. They kind of did try to tell the story, and you can now get the close to what the original Halloween 6 was supposed to be on Blu-ray. I don't know if it's actually on DVD or not, but you can get I think it's called the producer's cut of Halloween 6, because the theatrical version of Halloween 6 was freaking weird and
terribly weird.
It was a horrible horror movie, but the producer's cut actually isn't that bad. So they kind of try to explain some of the stuff.
Well, for my third pick, and I'm going backwards here, I'm going to go with Halloween 3. Now, I'm going to toss this one in there. I just want to make it clear, I'm not a fan of Halloween 3. I'm not. I am not. I think that the story, I know there's a lot of love for that film now, and a lot of people have gone back and rediscovered it, and there's a lot of fanfare and people getting excited about this film. And I've even read things on different websites and different Halloween websites where people are saying that I've heard people actually say it's better than the original.
Oh,
yeah, it's that ridiculous. So I'm going to just say that Halloween 3, and this is for the record, sucks. It really does. It's a terrible movie. The only cool thing about this movie, in my opinion, is the fact that it's still got John Carpenter's team is involved in it. So you got kind of that feel, that after Halloween 3, when Halloween 4 started, Carpenter's team was completely out of the picture for the most part. I mean, I'm sure a few people here and there were still involved, but definitely the production changed complete to a different director's producer and camera guys, different kind of mindset. So you could see that there was a difference. But for that reason, I'm going to just go ahead and say in Halloween 3, in terms of for the season and for nostalgia, I'm going to go ahead and say that every time the jingle came on and they had that commercial, the Silver Shamrock Halloween mask commercial, there was something inherently creepy about it, and I'm going to go ahead and say that will be my number 3, the Halloween 3 Silver Shamrock jingle. But it was kind of creepy. There was something creepy about it, like the whole idea of the TV and there's this sort of encoded subliminal message that people were getting through that commercial, and you see the 3 masks, the witch mask, the skull mask, and the pumpkin jack-o'-lantern mask. And I did like the masks. That's pretty much the only thing I liked about that movie.
Yeah.
But
my 4th pick, this is, if you haven't figured it out by this point, this is my one and only pick of the evening that is not an ending to a movie.
Oh, something new, huh?
And the reason why I went with this one, actually, when I was thinking of this movie, there are 2 scenes in this movie that I really had a really hard time to talk about. One of them involves Annie, and I am referring to the 2007 Zombies Halloween. So there's the 2 scenes that I really had a hard time. One was there is a scene with Annie Brackett and this guy kind of getting busy on the couch. Same person who played Jamie Lloyd. And she utters a phrase that I will not say on this. Go watch the movie. You'll figure it out. But then she gets attacked by Michael Myers and gets dragged across the floor. She's all bloody. She is naked, but she does get dragged across the floor, all bloody and gross, but it's still like, Daniel Harris is naked. But the scene from the movie that to this day I still love, I think it's, aside from getting to see Danny naked, is the best scene in the movie to me is, and this kind of goes to one of those areas that there's a lot of folks that hate, and that is the fact that we get to see a human side to little Michael Myers. A lot of the opening sequence to Zombies Halloween really focused on Michael as a kid and kind of some of the stuff that he was experiencing that led him up to whatever, have a mental lapse or snap or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, one of the scenes, and this all takes place on the day Halloween, when everything else happened after this. But Michael is supposed to be, in the movie, he's supposed to be a 10-year-old kid, but I mean, the guy who played him I think was like 12 or 13 at the time and looked 12 or 13. So I never really bought that he was only 10. But he went to school on Halloween. He gets bullied in the bathroom by real dickhead of a kid. You just wanted to kick the kid in the throat in the movie. And one of the things was, they catch Michael in the bathroom, and him and his little buddies are giving him crap because they have a little cutout from newspaper that shows like an ad for the local strip club that has his mom on it, and they're all giving him crap. And something like, oh, will she let me suck her titty for $1 or whatever the hell it was? So that all happens. They find a dead cat in Michael's bag. Michael's mom comes to the school and has a meeting with his principal, has a meeting with a newly revisioned Dr. Loomis that none of us, I don't think, really liked that were fans of the original movie. So all this stuff happens, and Michael storms out of the school and is walking home and somehow ends up running into this Wesley character into the woods. I don't know if he was like following him or what the deal was. He puts this clown mask on his face and picks up this, essentially was like a log, big branch off of this tree, and just beats the crap out of this kid. And I mean, ends up killing him. But it's just so brutal. And I love the zombie movies. I love pretty much every zombie movie outside of the Halloween franchise as well. To me, it was just one of those things where you just kind of see like, oh.
My fourth pick, which happens to be my number 2, so my number 2 favorite scene of the Halloween franchise. This was a hard one for me. I wanted to hit Halloween 2, the original movie, because we were only picking one scene from each movie, because I could have easily done all 5 of these in the first movie alone.
That's why we had to do it.
Yeah, that's why we spread it out a little bit. So I'm going to go, Halloween 2 is my favorite sequel. And the reason I like it so much is because I don't think it's a really great movie or anything, but it's like the perfect. Okay, so I love Halloween, the original, and it's like you want a little bit more of that if you like it that much, and Halloween 2 gives you just that. Now, it's not a great film, it's not as good as the first one, but all the stuff I loved about the first movie is there. I mean, it's like they film it where it's a seamless continuation from the same night, and it really feels like Haddonfield. I mean, you get all the same actors back. I mean, you got the sheriff, you got Loomis, you got Laurie, Jamie Lee Curtis's character. You even get Nancy Loomis, who is the actress who plays Annie, who was killed in the original movie, and she even comes back in a cameo as a dead body. And that's how connected this film is. It is that much of a continuation. So Halloween 2 is my favorite sequel of the series, and there's a lot of scenes I really, really like. I have to throw out there before I say it. I really thought the beginning of the end chase is excellent. The scene where Michael pops up behind the nurse and stabs her in the back, lifts her up, and her shoes fall off. I think that's a iconic scene. I think the scene in Halloween 2 when he comes out of the darkness in Dr. Mixer's office is great. There's 2 things I really, really like about the hot tub scene. And if you've seen that film, you'll know the 2 things I really, really liked about it. And so there's so many things to pick from Halloween 2. But I'm going to simplify it a little bit. And I'm going to have to say one of my favorite scenes is in the beginning of the movie. Michael's up, he's out, he's wandering around Haddonfield, and the sheriff is looking for him. And he's, we see the point of view shot of him going through the town or through the neighborhoods. And well, anyway, he ends up in this old couple's home, the Elrods, and the old man is watching Night of the Living Dead, and he fell asleep during it. And the old woman is making him a ham and cheese sandwich. Michael walks in and sneaks into their house through the back door, and it's Halloween night. And then all of a sudden, during the Night of the Living Dead broadcast, you hear like a news report saying like, oh, just we have to report that, this psychopath has just escaped the insane asylum and blah, blah, blah. And he's on the loose and all that. And he's connected to these murders. And then right after that radio broadcast, they go to the shot of Mrs. Elrod, the old woman, and behind her is standing there is Michael Myers. And it's just such a cool, creepy shot. I don't know too. Something about that kitchen too. Her kitchen is very late 70s, early 80s. So it gives you that kind of feel of, that period of time. And that scene to me is one of the best scenes in Halloween 2. That was like where the director, Rick Rosenthal, really captured what Carpenter was doing, because he kind of falls short on it later on in the film. But right at that beginning, he really starts out strong. And that's the first shot you see of Michael. And it's him just standing behind Mrs. Elrod. And it's really creepy and really well done. So that's my number 2. I wouldn't say this is my top pick. I went in chronological order, so I started in 78. I'm ending in 2009. And this would be
Halloween 2. And one of the things about Halloween 2 is there are a number of alternate scenes, and really I think there's like 3 or 4 different alternate endings to the movie. But one of my favorite components to Halloween 2 is the original theatrical ending to the movie. And again, not to give the whole, not to talk about the entire movie, but if we jump to the end of the movie, we're out in this like field, and there is this shed that Michael ends up in, and Dr. Loomis comes to the shed and tries to reason with Michael because, again, for some odd reason, this guy, he's been doing this since the 60s, doesn't understand that he can't reason with Michael Myers.
He never figured it out.
And Laurie Strode comes into the shed, played by Scout Compton this time, not by Jamie Lee Curtis, who we could probably have a whole episode about Laurie Strode. Laurie comes in, and one of the things with Halloween 2 is there's all these weird, or I shouldn't say one, but there's all these weird, like, flashbacks back to Deborah Myers that keep happening. There's this weird white horse and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And Michael is seeing them. Laurie's kind of seeing them too. And again, going back to the original movie, we find out that throughout this movie that Laurie Strode is actually Laurie Myers. Or, well, I don't think that Laurie wasn't her Myers name, whatever. But anyway, all this stuff happens, and actually, for the first time, Loomis actually gets killed by Michael Myers.
And strangely, we don't even care.
Or no, because he was a complete dick.
Yes, he was.
But Michael ends up getting shot down, and Laurie goes up, takes off his mask, and then comes out of the shed and puts the Michael Myers mask on herself. And then it kind of like weirdly transforms from that scene into Laurie in a psychiatric ward, and she just kind of looks up at the camera in this weird, kind of grins at the camera a little bit, and you're like, "Whoa, she's going to be the killer in the next movie." So that wraps it up for me. Those are my picks.
Very nice.
Yeah,
very nice picks.
So of the 4, I went with, or of the 5, I went with 4 endings. We could have went on and on and on and talked about it, and done a whole bunch of stuff, but we were trying to limit it to be somewhat sort of a reasonable length of a episode.
I think we did. So my final number 1 best scene ever, genius scene in my opinion, and the scene that like really made me a big Halloween fan. And I remember even as a kid watching this scene and saying, "Wow, that was really, really cool." It's going to be from Halloween 1978, John Carpenter's masterpiece. And it's the scene when Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, makes her way to the, gosh, it's funny. I could, like, now that I'm about to reveal this scene, it's like I want to reveal like 10 or 15 more scenes before this scene. But I'm going to go ahead and stick to my point here and just go ahead and say she knows something's wrong. She's babysitting little Tommy Doyle, and she knows something's wrong across the street. And so she makes her way over there, gets to the house, goes inside the house. It's dark, finds her friends, and both of them are dead. And she's shocked, sobbing, completely distraught by the whole situation, and she kind of leans up against the wall, against this, and then next to her, behind her, or whatever, is another room, and it's dark. The door's open, but it's dark. And as she's sitting there sobbing, we, the audience, see behind her Michael Myers, the shape, coming out of the darkness, his white mask appearing from that dark room, and all you see is that mask slowly appear. And to me, that was the best shot scene. Well, one of the best shot scenes of that entire film. It made, the mask itself was so creepy, and then just the way they shot it, they used a dimmer light, and they just slowly raised the lighting, and just the way it appears from the darkness behind her, it's so ghoulish, so phantom-like, so much like a classic horror movie, that I just have to say that scene right there is my number one Halloween scene. And it's funny because back in the day, as a kid, I watched this film on VHS, and then in Media Home Entertainment had the pan and scan version, and so they would show that scene. But then when Media lost the rights, or the company went under, the Anchor Bay purchased the Halloween rights and released it on VHS again. If you watch their pan and scan version of the film, their full screen version, that shot was cut out. And I remember being really disappointed, because you would see Laurie crying, and then all of a sudden you'd hear that little synth sound that John Carpenter always used to show that the shape was appearing, but there was nothing there. And then all of a sudden he's standing there. And it was because the way the edit they used of the film didn't show the full shot of that room, so you didn't see his face appear. So you had to get the widescreen version on VHS in order to see that full shot the way it was supposed to be. And now, obviously, with DVD and Blu-ray, they got it right, and you got the full screen. But yeah, that scene right there, that was it. That is my favorite Halloween scene.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Those are our top picks for Halloween. If we were to go ahead and re-record this episode in 5 days or a week from now, we'd probably pick 5 different scenes each. But
I think we would.
I think we'll go ahead and we'll expand on this format a little bit. I mean, we won't do it all the time. We'll kind of throw it out there every once in a while, kind of like we do with the our tribute episodes, where we talk about one specific person. So if there are any particular areas of horror films, whether it be actors, scenes, you could go ahead and suggest top 10 horror movies. We're not going to do that one. But if there's any top lists that you would like us to cover, feel free to share those with us. The contact information is coming up shortly. Shoot us an email right on our Facebook page. Go ahead and give us a call. Leave us a voicemail. We already have one fan suggestion, and that is to talk about the top scores of horror movies.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I'm going to go ahead and say this right away, that we are only allowing one John Carpenter movie on the list.
Yeah, oh man.
So, I mean, if there's anything in particular you want to hear about, feel free to let us know. We will do our best to get them on. All right, so thanks for listening, everybody, tuning in. We will talk to you guys next time.
Have a happy Halloween if we don't see you before then.